Hi, thank you for joining EQengineered for our UX STRAT 2018 Takeaways and Summary webinar. My name is Mark Hewitt. I'm the President and CEO at EQengineered, and today I'm joined by my colleague Rachel Gway, EQengineered's Chief Experience Officer.
Good morning, everyone. Excited to jump right in as we only have 30 minutes. As one housekeeping note, if you have a question, please send us a message in the chat window. We'll be addressing questions at the end of presentation as time permits. At UX STRAT, it's a conference that brings together experienced design leaders, strategists, researchers, and senior professionals to hear about and discuss the latest trends in user experience, customer experience, product, and service design. And it was echoed that the digital and physical experiences are blending. Allison Beatty from Target spoke about the super app integration that made the in-store shopping experience streamlined. Now there's no more juggling between the Cartwheel app and the Target app when in-store and at checkout.
Yeah, she spoke about the mission of the initiative to bring together Target's apps in a way that retained existing flagship users, but motivated existing Cartwheel users to make the switch. In fulfilling the enterprise strategy, the purpose of the app was to help families discover the joy of everyday life. The resulting app was positioned to make it easy for Target guests to feel welcomed, inspired, and rewarded, very much evoking emotion that we hear a lot about in customer experience these days. Measures of success for the project included identification of transactions, meaning knowing guests better across channels, understanding active users, those guests using the app more in and out of store, guest satisfaction, again focusing on that increase in sentiment and joy, and revenue, increasing guest overall spend. The app focused on 3 jobs to be done for the customer, the first of which was, when I know what I need, help me find it and get it taken care of now. The second job was to help me build my list, maximize my savings, and minimize my regrets. And the third job was, when I have free time, help me window shop so I can get ideas for me and gifts for others. The research methods used in this project were remote usability, shop-alongs, prototypes, in-store intercepts, and user reference groups. It was a really robust case study.
A super robust case study. She also got the award for using the best emoticon within the presentation. Yi-Yun Lim from the MIT Design Lab also shared some insights from the MIT Media's lab focused on both the digital and the physical. The digital and physical creates information within reach. It also helps contextualize the information, enabling media in tangible form. She shared several examples, like an interactive table that was used in hotels to assist guests in planning their experience within a city. And the experience that she actually showed was a bunch of people in Boston. These experiences used a voice interface, a natural language interaction pattern, an engaging personality, personalized recommendations, and contextual alerts.
Yi-Yun also spoke about bridging IoT and AI to deliver these contextualized information experiences with artificial intelligence that led to the creation of emotional IoT, or Internet of Things. Several examples were showcased, and we thought we'd show you just a few of them. The first one that was really quite interesting was this digital tattoo using skin as the interface.
She also showed some ingestibles with miniaturization of information and bacteria on a chip.
I'm not sure about you, Rachel, but I'm not really on board for ingesting bacteria or being part of the beta group for this one. So I'm not likely to be an early adopter to help demonstrate the efficacy of results.
I don't know, maybe I would in the name of science.
A third example, which was also interesting to demonstrate contextualized information, involved microbial active carbon eater t-shirts. These t-shirts responded to environmental factors by changing in appearance to inform the user about things like air quality.
And lastly, she showed us a ventilated shoe. The shoe actually keeps your foot cool by growing in its own air passageways. And they did it as a collaboration with Puma. I know I really don't like sweaty feet, and the shoe that breathes sounds pretty cool to me. but also really practical. I wonder if they could design my hockey gear too.
Certainly has a lot of different applications, so pretty exciting stuff. Driven by the design process, Megan McDonald shared how Instagram pivoted from Instagram Live to video chat. She described the path forward as continuous learning. The path was not linear, and through continuous learning via market research, observational interviews, daily diary studies, jobs to be done in a survey, 4 product iterations were undertaken, the final leading to video chat with multitasking.
The design process is kind of like sailing. I like to think of it like that. It's essentially a course made good. It's generally not a straight line. There's so much room for iterations before delivery. Sometimes you go forward, sometimes you go back.
Yeah, makes sense.
And Catalina Bach from Google gave a comprehensive presentation about tracking the impact of UX research and how you can create tangibility to advocate for your team, to create growth at any level, and to change the culture of your organization.
This was one of the most compelling presentations. There were a lot of people very engaged. But what we wanted to do is share a few of the slides that we were able to capture. One metric that was not portrayed in this slide was identifying when an initiative is prioritized or deprioritized as a result of the user research insights. I'd have to say that Catalina's session definitely garnered what I thought was the most interest that I saw in terms of people actually moving their pencils. The session was very focused on actionable outcomes that attendees could take back to their organizations and put into practice to create evidence and also demonstrate efficacy and track the impact.
I agree, Mark. When I took a look around the room during this presentation, most people I saw were frantically scribbling notes and snapping pictures. It was as if the secret sauce had been unveiled. How can I show the ROI of my team? She highlighted so many solid metrics, my favorite being the recommissioning of UX research that is related to outputs from prior studies to deepen a perspective and evidence of a customer need or motivation. Heidi Monk from Nationwide Insurance reminded us to take advantage of opportunities to build trust with our stakeholders and to show the value of UX. She also articulated in detail the path taken to build internal momentum and ensure the member experience address situations in context, for which an insurance concerns is often at a critical and stressful point to achieve an outcome.
Heidi also shared that the effort to build a customer-centric culture is an ongoing and has been and will continue to be a sustained effort. Heidi reiterated at the end of her presentation the importance of continuing to build this awareness and the need for customer centricity with influencers across the company, and that you should have this customer-focused organizational change should have an impact on the way decisions are made and spending is prioritized. At the end of the day, an unhappy customer is a dissatisfied user of any product or service.
Jobs to be done was also discussed during many presentations. I heard about during lunch, at breaks, even after the conference on Slack, there was a really healthy discussion that happened. And in this jobs to be done approach, causality and context should drive your customer thinking. Frame the design problem in a job, focus on the triggering event or situation, the motivation and the goal, and the intended outcome. And always make sure you think in terms of why rather than who, and uncover the true customer context and motivations. Like personas and other customer journeys seem to net out as another tool to consider when seeking to understand the customer needs, behavior, interests, and motivations. There's so many reasons to choose one tool over another. And in my experience, it depends on so many factors, such as business needs and customer needs. There really is no one size fits all approach.
Yeah, it's interesting. In 2016, when I was at the UX STRAT conference, this was kind of the hot buzzword. And I know it's been around a long time, but felt like a lot of people were adopting it more at this conference. But as you said, it's not the hammer for every nail. The next slide speaks to Joe Mearsman from IBM's presentation. Thought he was very effective in simplifying what is a complicated topic. Joe articulated how designing with AI is designing with intent. He went on to discuss how powerful AI is as a technology that design nurtures. He talked about designing with, not for AI. He also emphasized the team structure, planning and continuous improvement, and monitoring and maintaining the data model, nurturing being key to this.
Designing with intent is so important in our field. And commercial AI tends to be focused, but when it isn't, or there isn't enough data fed into the system at the beginning, it can go a little haywire. I don't know if anyone remembers, but Microsoft launched the Tay AI bot. It was built in an effort to conduct research on conversational understanding. However, it really backfired when it began tweeting out some offensive and racial slurs. While technology is neither good nor evil, we have a responsibility to make sure it's not designed in a way that will reflect back the worst of humanity. We must nurture it properly. Joe Mearswing closed with the notion of humans plus AI equals augmented intelligence that needs to be cared for and evolved. He really hit home on that. And that we also need to make sure that we include adaptive feedback loops as they are a necessity to this process.
Astrid Chow, a colleague of Joe's from IBM, picked up where he left off and went on to share her experience designing with artificial intelligence. With it being the newest shiny object in the room, Astrid underlined the importance of responsibility, and she also emphasized that to be smarter is to be ethical. I thought that point really kind of drove home the importance of looking at it with the right lens. Astrid and Joe shared a few key and relevant thoughts that are worth reiterating again. Number one, we should design with AI, not for AI. Secondly, when considering AI, we must first determine if the market needs it and if it is the appropriate vehicle. Then, if choosing to design with AI, continuing to challenge it along the way. And lastly, we must have a code of ethics for AI. To be smarter is to be ethical.
Fred Dolan gave a great design ops presentation. He shared a case study of how VMware used design thinking to explore design ops and how designers are tackling the challenges of being inundated with more tools and demands for collaboration. We as designers also need to think about how to improve our workflow and how to reduce our routine challenges. For us, we need to take that time out. Just recently, I was counting up how many ways my team communicates and how many places I needed to look for comments or threads of information, email, Slack, Hangouts, text, phone calls, and the list just kept going. We then made a team decision for communication. We would use a primary platform and reevaluate in the near future to see how it's working out. So far, it's great. One place for everything. It's so much easier.
Well, sitting next to Rachel today and watching my messages come up on her Apple Watch, I understand why she was getting irritated with the amount of times I was pinging through the day. So it's good that we kind of standardize that. The last presentation was by Ronnie Batista. If you've seen him present before, he's definitely a charismatic and enthusiastic person. And he shared some really interesting thoughts on how to turn off, tune out, and drop in. His premise was that our attention's constantly divided, and sometimes it's good to disconnect in order to connect better. He actually had an interesting example that was personal for him. He had gone down to Patagonia and realized when he was getting back on the plane to come home that he really hadn't lived the experience, but spent the time capturing the imagery and things that he had seen with his camera. So I thought that was a pretty interesting, personal relevance. Since the conference, I've knowingly and purposely tried to disconnect for longer periods of time. One was on a trip up to Maine with my wife and kids for 3 to 4 hours. They're 16 and 13 respectively, my son and daughter. And what was interesting about it was, I could tell on the way home that people were starting to have separation anxiety, including myself from our phones. But everyone really appreciated, I think, having to look each other in the eye and have normal communication. It was also kind of nice not to have a backseat driver with my son telling me where Waze was correcting our path as traffic started to increase or decrease. So kind of an interesting notion, turn off, tune out, and drop in.
Yeah, it definitely was. I have a group of friends that we go out with, and everyone places their phone on the table when you go sit down to try to maintain that level of conversation and everyone's really in tune with each other. And whoever decides to pick up their phone first out of necessity or compulsion, they have to pick up the check. It's definitely delayed a bit of phone time for many people. And we, as designers and as leaders, our team structures generally vary especially depending on small versus large organizations. The UX team structure is kind of evolved. And the idea of there being a unicorn, there's really not a unicorn, like one person that can do all these things. This slide here that you're looking at is actually the embedded AI team that Joe Mearsman shared. And he explained, and I agree, that there's mutual respect between user experience and software development professionals, and there really isn't a one-size-fits-all. And the team that he described had a design team lead, a UX designer, UX researcher, visual designer, front-end developer, content writer, and data scientist. And I know, as I spoke to many people throughout the conference, sometimes there are some people that wear a couple hats. Generally, it's not all 7 of these hats.
Yeah, I think one of the sidebar conversations we had about this at a lunch was with small to medium-sized companies that said, this is great when you have deep pockets and lots of resources, and certainly the need to bring forward a team of 7+. But many people are wearing multiple hats, and so I think that kind of idea of mutual respect between design and dev is one that continues to evolve, particularly in small and medium companies that are trying to, are really taxing people with more responsibilities, but then trying to figure out how they can deliver with those competencies and disciplines.
Totally.
I wanted to take just a minute to share with you a little bit about EQengineered. We pride ourselves on designing and building user-first digital experiences driven with insight, strategy, business, and technology. Truly, we strive to bring the customer to the center of everything we do. On the UX design side, we deliver a lot of qualitative, quantitative, and ethnographic audience research. We provide design services, including design system development. We provide high to low fidelity rapid prototyping, concept testing, front-end development with Angular and React, as well as other technologies. And on the tech dev side, we work with a lot of open source technologies like the Java stack, as well as proprietary stacks like .NET, .NET Core.
I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time today and joining the webinar. Please don't hesitate to reach out to either myself or Mark directly if you have any questions or would like to discuss a current or upcoming initiative with us. We look forward to staying in touch and collaborating with you and your team when the time's right.
And I don't see any questions on here, so we really wanted to make this kind of a quick presentation so that everyone could kind of listen through it during lunch. And what we'll do, if others on your team would be interested in watching it, is we'll put this up on our SlideShare or YouTube channel, and we'll advertise it more than likely on Tuesday this coming week so that you can share it with others on your team. But thank you very much for joining us. And again, as Rachel mentioned, please feel free to reach out if you have any further questions or have an interest in discussing a potential initiative at your organization.